When we think of the business perspective of value, there's actually an article that's going to hit the chat box now, which is, an article from McKinsey. It's actually a pretty good read, Reg. You and I were reviewing this, and the premise or the summary, if you may, of the article is that, for companies to grow and grow consistently, when they derive value, they call it a trifecta of three things, right? It's creativity, it's analytics, and it's purpose. And some would even say it's purpose followed by creativity followed by analytics, right? If you think of it that way. But either ways, it doesn't matter. You need the three things. And what the article talks about, and they actually have statistics around this, but they say that, only 7% of companies, if you look at the landscape of all the organizations that are out there, about 7% of them are actually showing an evidence of where they're using all three of these things, right? They're driving an average revenue of, they say, 2 times. When they look at, when they compare those 7% to their peers, that was in the previous year. And then when they actually continue to do that over the next year, they go from like driving 2 times of growth to driving 3 times of growth versus their peers. This is actually this is incredible, right? 2x to 3x. 2x, I'll take 2x, I'll take half an x, frankly. Okay, that's,
I think it's important to highlight, we're not talking 2.3%.
No, times.
Or 2.7%. We're talking 2.3x or 2.7x.
X, exactly. So if you think about now, just take them at the aggregates, right? So if I was in a CPG category, right? That's the one that I play in a lot. And if companies are growing at 1 to 2%, that's like you'd kill to have a 1 to 2% growth, right? What this article is saying that when they go and they look at companies that are using the combination of these three things, these folks are growing versus their peers at minimum, right, 3 to 4%. And then when they continue that, they go from 3 to 4% to 5 to 6%, right? And just think about that. That's incredible. And this is again backed by, I think, the data they have. Now here's the other thing though, is that that's again, I know we talk about gold standards quite a bit in this forum, right? Now that's if you're using all three: creativity, purpose, and analytics, right? But they say that forget about that. If you even used one of them, right? Either one, pick whether it's purpose, whether it's creativity or analytics. If you just picked one, your growth rate is more than 6%, right? Your average growth rate is more than 6%. And when you actually add the second component, your growth rate grows by a full basis, basis point. So you go from 6% to 7%. And if you actually do it, if you do all three, right? This is even within that, within the peers that the 7% that are doing it. When they look at companies that did all three, they were growing by 12% year over year.
It's
incredible, right? It's incredible. So when you think about value derived, and the topic that we want to talk about today, which is right to expect, if businesses are deriving this value from a growth perspective, I don't think all businesses are expecting to grow like that. Do you see what I'm saying? That there's a mindset of saying, oh, if I get 1 to 2%, like I said, within the CPG space, I'm happy. So I'll said that. So anyways, I just wanted, that was a very, very, what do you call that? It kind of was something that made me think about my God, when you think about right to expect, right? And then you were going to talk about how that then connects to, leadership development, etc.
Well, for me, when I two things are significant in the article for me, and I think one is an understanding about how a business thinks about value. And, you can just go to the title of the article and it's called the growth triple play.
Triple play. Yep.
And so when you think about how the business perspective about value, they're going to take a look at activity, the things that the business needs to drive in order to grow. And I correlate that to the leadership development environment. And we don't always think about the value the same way. Right. And I think that from a leadership development perspective, we don't think about growth. We think about economic value provided, right?
Right. Right.
Economic value
Value
added.
add. Yep.
So because of the things that we do, what value are we adding to the business? How are we helping it to grow? How are we helping it to get faster? How are we helping it to get smarter? So that's the first thing that I think about when I, read the article and I listened to you talk, Vid. I think the second thing that I think about is what the growth triple play actually is. It's not rocket science.
Right.
It is purpose, it is creativity, and it's analytics. And I think that there's a story there. And I think that that story is highly correlated to strength of leadership for a business.
Absolutely.
And so it pushes me into this question that we want to delve into today, which is, how does the leadership development, how has it created value in the past? And how can it provide value differently in the future? Because I don't think that it would be a stretch to say that the value derived story from a leadership development perspective is unfortunately not a great one. And here's why I say that.
Right.
When you think about value being derived inside of the leadership development space, the economic value that we have added, the EVA, you guys are going to hear Vid and I say that a lot today, the EVA. The EVA that we have added, we know that only 10 to 11% of organizations feel like their leadership development efforts have resulted in a strong leadership bench for the future. That's it, 10 to 11%. So that means 89 to 90% do not feel that way.
Yep.
Another really interesting piece of research, I think, that helps us to understand why the leadership development EVA story is not a great one, is some great work that's been done by the Brandon Hall Group. And we're not going to put that link up today. Just we'll shout it out. But Brandon Hall has done a lot of work on researching leaders who have had access to leadership development, just the ones who've had access.
Yep.
And
it's
so
a
I
very
think
small group, as we know.
I keep thinking, but only 10 to 11% of leaders even think of executive teams even think they're, that they've got strong leadership. But of the leaders who have had access, more than 75% believe that it has it's not effective. So what they're getting is not effective. And I think that both of these two very simple stats point to this unfortunate story about the economic value that leadership development has added to the space is very weak.
So what I'm hearing you say is, if the business value derived means that when people do things that are measurable and in combination, and it can drive 6 to 7 to 12% average growth rates, it can be two to three times as effective. And that's a right to expect, right? You almost anticipate and want it to be that way. What I'm hearing you say is, not only is the economic value added, low, right, from a leadership development perspective, but probably what you're even suggesting is that there is even no right to expect that we have things that can teach us how to get to those levels of performance. Is that, am I just overarching that, or is that what you?
No, that is exactly, I think, the story that we want to tell today, and that those who are in the leadership development space really need to be addressing.
Yeah.
So, I think that one of the reasons why it was important for us to talk about the shift in leadership mixes, we're shifting from mindset shifts, that leadership mix, to the leadership mix called Build Leadership Development at Every Level of Your Business, with this session called Right to Expect. And I think that's because we want to send a message around providing value, creating economic value, contributing to EVA in a significant way is very doable.